Now let's take a look at music as a teaching tool, because this is something that, again, comes up in multiple accounts from people who have had some kind of spiritual experience. So why are we talking about people who have had spiritual experiences? Well, it's because in there they supposedly have seen the underlying essence of things. We could have a bunch of other discussions about music and come to a lot of different conclusions. Coming at it from this angle, we're getting reports from people who say this is what's underneath it all. So this is something from The Message, and this is a modern near-death experience account by Lance Richardson. He had this book, The Message, and this is from when he was, if you've read any of these near-death experience books, they have a section always where they're in the near-death experience. So he's in this other world that he went to, and we're dropping in the middle of this when he's in this room with these people at all these keyboard things. A young woman told him, "We're using music to learn important eternal truths. Music is a most powerful conductor of the spirit. We use music to help us in our learning process. I'm sure you've experienced it. Haven't you listened to selections of music and have been moved to tears? Quite often when you are moved to tears, it is because the spirit is intensely present. I cannot remember what took place, but I was left with a most certain validation that music is a great tool of God. Great truths may be learned by uplifting music as a conductor of the spirit. I have always enjoyed music, but I gained a much deeper respect for its eternal purpose." So that's Lance, the author, saying that. I didn't make that very clear in how I read it, but that's Lance's account. So, and that's interesting because you can think of music as a recreational tool or an emotional moderation tool, but to think of it as a teaching tool, that you can learn things through music. You don't always come across that, and believe it or not, you probably can believe it because we always do this. It's that same sentiment is echoed in Swedenborg. We're going to pull up Apocalypse Explained 8:5:5. "But all who are in the spiritual kingdom speak from thought, which belongs to the understanding or soul. And when such speech flows down out of heaven toward the regions below, it is heard either as a voice or as a harmonious music, or is seen before the eyes like the brightness of a cloud or like the flash of lightning before thunder." So the speech of angels, we're talking about, this is Swedenborg saying, I visited the spiritual world. This is how it's organized. And a quick primer, you got heaven up here in different levels of heaven, and then you got the world of spirits, or the place we would all go after death, below. And it all has to do with states of mind, and we've talked about this in other shows, so we don't have time here. But he says, when people who are in a higher level of understanding are more open, when they talk, it can be rendered in a bunch of different ways. It can be heard as a voice, a few visual things, but then also music. So music can actually be a representation or a rendering, as I said, of these sort of higher thoughts. So it can actually be, it's not just a more arty way to communicate something, it can actually be the primary communication of higher truths.